Hey everyone, and welcome to the AI Leadership Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Joseph, and today we're very lucky to have technologist Willem Ligtenberg on the podcast. Well, Willem, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for inviting me, Sam.
Great stuff. Well, Willem, let's dive into our first question, which is, of course, what is your technology origin story? Were you bitten by a technology radioactive spider that somehow mutated you into a great technologist? How did it all happen?
Apparently, I was at age of 10 or something. So my dad was an informatics teacher at high school, and so we were quite lucky to have a PC at home relatively early because I'm old, like 42,
Uh,
um, which is almost going to be maybe an answer to another question. But so we had a computer at home quite quickly, and I was messing around with that early on. So I can actually say that Basic was my second language after Dutch, even before English.
right.
Writing some stupid programs. I remember writing a really uh, stupid maze game where the maze was drawn on the screen with ASCII art, obviously, because that was the only thing that I knew.
Right, right.
It's just drawing text on a screen.
Hmm.
Um, And there, the programming bug already got hold of me.
Uh-huh.
And at first, I thought I want to become just a programmer or something like that.
Hmm.
But later on, I also noticed that I actually really like various different things. So I like biology, chemistry, physics. And that's why I went into biomedical engineering.
Okay,
But then programming stuck with me. So yeah, I ended up with bioinformatics,
right.
analyzing really large genetic data sets, and well, that evolved into data science, right?
Right, right. And are you still? So I mean, it's interesting because I mean I'm slightly older than you, and I remember bioinformatics coming in as a term when I was doing my PhD, and I was doing my PhD in like neural networks. And I was sort of interested in the biology side, and I was looking at calcium ions and gated channels and this, that, and the other, but just purely on the mechanics of how nerve cells worked. But then there was suddenly like all this, gene sequencing. Suddenly it's huge. But I kind of made a decision. Okay, like I'm not going to do bioinformatics, like because it's just like I've got to sort of cut the world into some bits that I focus on. But you
Yeah.
went into that bioinformatics, and are you still there? How's
No, I left that field like I don't know about 10 years ago. But it's
right?
interesting because I also did some modeling on nerve cells. I remember like a Huxley model or something like
Yes,
that.
yes, yes, yes.
Yeah,
The Hodgkin-Huxley model of nerve
yeah.
cells. Yes.
So that's interesting that we
Yeah.
both looked at that as well. No, like 10 years ago, I let go of the more bioinformatics part and just went into more generic data science because
Right.
eventually I noticed what really triggers me is just an interesting puzzle
Right.
to solve, but it should be an interesting puzzle to solve,
Sure.
and then using data and computing to solve the issue.
Right. And do you think that I mean that bioinformatics, for maybe listeners who are not so familiar, it's lot just gene sequences, it's these four amino acid base pairs, which is CGAT or whatever it is, and
Yeah.
like you can, these days you can like and basically huge amounts of data about and then all of these base pairs they end up being used to construct proteins, and then but it's like how the proteins fold, and it's some of the most common. And did you find that? I hope I've summarized that accurately. Did you find the bioinformatics data work that you were doing a good foundation for data science in general? Can you tell us a little bit more about that experience?
Yeah, I think so. It was really early on as well. So if you wanted to get data from a database, you were on your own, right? There were no data
Okay.
engineers that would get data out of a database and prep it for you or something like that.
Right.
Um, but it really taught me how to work with larger data sets. That's also something that I inherently enjoy when things become a little bit more complicated. It
Uh-huh.
gets more interesting for me.
Yes.
So larger data sets, out of memory computing, also GPU computing is some kind of weird thing that I like. Um, and that is just yeah, a good segue. And what I also think is nice about the bioinformatics part is that
Hmm.
it really is about the application as well.
Okay.
It's and also with data science, I think the maybe the most important part about data science is asking the right questions,
Okay. Yeah.
because getting an algorithm to come up with an answer,
Hmm.
that's easy.
Right.
because you just feed it data, you write an algorithm, and it will spit out an answer. But whether or not the answer makes sense or is
Yes.
actually useful depends on the questions that you ask.
Right. Right. Well, that's very Douglas Adams. You've got to be sure what
Yeah,
question you're asking before you ask the
that's
computer to run the set of numbers.
actually I had a company for like about 5 years,
Yes.
4.5, I think, and it was called 42 Analytics,
Oh, fantastic.
specifically because of the answer to life, the universe, and everything. The answer to life, the universe, and everything is 42.
We hear.
But
Yes.
the thing was, if you've read the books, and if you haven't read the books, I'm gonna spoil it maybe a little bit. It's you get an answer, but you then you cannot do anything with the answer because did you actually ask the right question?
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
what did the question actually mean?
Indeed.
So
So.
yes, and I think that's the main thing to get right if you do a data science project
Yeah,
is
absolutely.
really dig into what's the actual question.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and can you tell us about some of the stuff that you're currently doing in the broader data science, as much details as you can share. What's making up your day-to-day bread and butter data science work these days?
Yeah, so these days I'm an AI architect, so I'm not coding each day anymore. Whereas
Mhm.
like a little over a year ago, I was still coding most of my time.
Uh-huh.
Now it's really at the company that I work for, think about which AI tools we can use within our landscape to, well, basically get the things done that we want to get done. And so also for the entire company, see which tools make sense to uh, fill in the capabilities that we need.
Yes.
And in our case, for example, we're looking at Databricks, the software suite for the more high coding stuff, and on the low code side, we're looking at Microsoft Copilot or something like that,
Right.
or Copilot Studio, to be
Right.
specific. And that's really looking at the various software suites that are out there and how we can apply them. And sometimes it's also a slightly stupid thing to actually make sure that we, for example, are able to run an OpenAI endpoint
Okay.
within Azure in
Right.
Sweden,
Okay.
because most of our stuff is actually located in Amsterdam
Mhm.
data center.
Right.
But for some reason, I know why, Microsoft doesn't make all models
No.
available in all sites,
No.
and Amsterdam is really limited, and that's just
Mm.
because they have limited data center capacity there.
Right.
But then getting security on board and the network guys to
Sure.
actually make something available in Sweden, that took a bit of conversation and also explanation how to get stuff done.
Mm.
And I think there my relatively technical background with also having run my own server for the last, I don't know, 15, 20 years
Yeah.
really helps that you can actually explain like, yes, we can put it in Sweden and adhere to all of our security guidelines without
Right. Right.
making any problems. But that has really helped to then really innovate using the latest models that are available.
Oh, great. And that's all sort of internally it's not like you're consulting to other companies and helping them. This is all internally within your company to help your company achieve its goals. And I think
Yeah,
what can you tell us what your company's name is and what its mission is?
yeah. The company that I work for is called CZ.
CZ.
Yeah. Um, and it's a health insurance company in the Netherlands. And
Right.
we have a bit of a weird insurance system in the Netherlands because people have to get healthcare insurance.
Right.
Um, we cannot select people. We cannot differentiate the premium based on
Mm.
characteristics of
Oh,
people.
really? Interesting.
Um, that also really makes it an interesting point from an insurance perspective because a lot of things that normal insurance companies can do, we are just not allowed to do, which I actually agree with as well because uh,
Indeed, indeed. I
it
mean,
makes sense.
right. There's, I mean, again, we were talking before the call about how, I think this UK, we're very envious of the Dutch and they're speaking multiple languages. We're often envious of the Dutch and their general approach to many, many things. Equality, these sorts of fairness, it's all good stuff.
Then again, our healthcare system has also its own flaws, but I have yet to find a country that has the perfect healthcare
No,
system.
Indeed, indeed. We can laud the intent, the outcomes. The devil, as they say, is in the details. But so and right, and so I guess you're not like the national health insurance
No,
for no, you're a private company, but supporting. But there is a kind of like and you're one of a number of private companies that
yes, but
supports the overall system.
yeah, but we are a not-for-profit company.
Right.
So that's also quite different compared to systems in the US, for example. We're not here to make a lot of money because all
Mm,
the profits that would be made in a given year are then basically used to decrease the premium in the next year to
yes.
basically give it back to the people that are part of the company. Um, and the mission is in a way quite simple. There are two main things we want to do is to ensure that people who need healthcare can get the healthcare they need at
Yes.
the time they need. And then the other part of that is at the right premium. So at
Right.
the lowest premium that you can do it. But those two things obviously need to be balanced against each other.
Right, right. Oh, fantastic. And so and then so the you've got lots of data. There's I mean I guess I'm trying to is there the overall optimization problem then is sort of like a bit like what you've described is lots of people are asking for health insurance that then they need to kind of fill in their details and some information about themselves and then you need to offer them a premium that's as low as possible and you can't differentiate between the people but so you're just trying to I guess it's almost like it's almost if you can't differentiate between the people, it almost sounds like it should collapse into a somewhat simple problem, right? You just
Yes.
is that not the case? Can you tell us? And obviously, only as much as you can share about
Yeah, no, but these the generic thing is what you need to do is the things that are part of the package that is decided by Dutch politics, right? The
Oh, really?
government
Okay.
decides what the base content is,
Okay.
and that can change year on year, and
Right.
then you need to estimate the amount of money that will require. The
Okay.
government itself also does that, so they have like a premium that they calculate based on their assumptions,
Right.
and then each health insurer will look at their own um financials and
Hmm.
see how they can then decrease that number or maybe even need to increase it. Maybe you can also save some money with the right um, contracts with healthcare providers.
Right.
It's that's all part of it. And then the interesting bit is also people can only switch once a year. So
Okay.
there's one period each year that people can look for a new insurance, and that's also when everybody publishes their new premiums. And during the year, they stay fixed.
Right. Right. Oh, that's really interesting. I think I reflect it back to you. So what it sounds like is um, at any given time, the government has said, right, the conditions A, B, C, D, some list of things will be covered,
Yeah,
and that has some, you know, depending, there each of those different things, different levels of costs, and so on. And I mean, I'm just out of interest in the Dutch system. So, given that people have selected a particular provider, such as your CZ, are they then personally paying like that premium themselves, like pre-tax? So they're incentivized to find the lowest price, are they?
yeah. So they pay part of the whole
That
cost
percentage.
themselves.
Uh-huh.
Most people within the Netherlands are probably not aware that there is another large part that's paid by the government because
Right.
they never see it.
Right.
And if you think about it, it's also the part that is required almost to make the system work
Yes.
because there is a system um, that equalizes the differences in population.
Okay.
Because based on your population, you would be expected to make certain costs.
Hmm.
And if one of the insurers would have the worst population, they
Yes.
would always have the highest premium,
Right.
which makes them less interesting.
Yes.
Which so some people would leave, and basically one of them will go bankrupt. The
Yeah.
other another one will have the worst population, and it
Right. Right.
basically explodes or implodes into only one insurer.
Sure.
So there is the extra bit of money from the government is used to iron out the differences between populations.
Right.
So there should be a relatively level playing field,
Hmm.
and the differences should come from better customer service, better buying of the healthcare,
Right.
and that should make the difference, not the population itself.
No, absolutely. And no, it makes sense. I think there's something similar in Japan. They've got a kind of a foothold in that idea. But yes, so then, for your company, as you say, you're trying to provide good customer service. You're trying to get the best deals with those healthcare providers. And so, yeah, for that list of, ailments that will be served according to government regulation, the like I guess during the course of the year, you're trying to make sure that okay, for these ailments and what we can infer based on the average person and the likelihood of these things, can we make the best deals with the healthcare providers in order to provide the lowest premium? Is the then
Yeah, so if
still
you expect,
yeah,
I don't know, for example, that you have an X amount of people with type 2 diabetes,
right.
then you should make sure that there is enough healthcare that you've
Mm,
bought that people can actually make use of that. And that's also one of the diseases where getting the right health or healthcare could actually help in decreasing costs down the line.
right.
So they're really choosing the right healthcare providers
Mm,
can help with decreasing spending later on. Although that's all also what makes it a bit difficult because they only need to stay with you for 1 year. So
right.
uh, really long-term investments, those are a bit weird in our current
I can
system.
see, yeah, because you spend all of this money getting this person with preventative stuff, and they're like, "I'm fantastic, right? I'm going to go off and go with somebody else now."
Yeah,
And
and somebody else has the benefits.
right, right,
Luckily enough, since I think most of the health insurers in the Netherlands are not for profit,
yes,
and none of them are even allowed to pay dividends or something. So
yes,
that's government decision. Um, most of them are, even though not everybody will agree, actually trying to do the right thing.
right, yeah.
But obviously, since the amount of money people are spending on their health insurance, they, they don't always like that, and it's understandable. It's a fair amount of money each month. That
You mean that the individual citizens are sometimes they're like, this is too much money, and they'll want to move around as a result, which is
yeah.
yeah, no, fair enough. Well, no, thank you so much for going into the detail there of understand. And yeah, so I can see then. I mean, it's interesting as a description. Then it sounds like this is a big, optimization problem, and sort of all the classic tools of data science are the kind of the key ones. You mentioned you're the AI architect. This allows us, I think, to segue into the second question. I mean, how is AI affecting, the work at CZ and your day-to-day life? Is it just the usual things, or is there some way in which the AI is getting more involved in this optimization problem that you're challenged with at work?
Uh, so really optimizing healthcare buying, not yet. We're looking into that, but there are some uh, legal restraints also in the use of data,
Oh, really?
which
Right.
makes sense. But
Hmm.
so there it could be interesting also to look into synthetic data and
Hmm.
then use the synthetic data to do other optimizations.
Mm.
Um, but also we just need to start with the basics. So we are rolling out the M365 Copilot for
Okay.
people to use.
Right.
We're also looking into GitHub Copilot, which is slightly more annoying because the servers are in the US.
Hmm.
Um, it's all those kind of considerations as well, and we're looking into how we want to deploy our Gen AI projects on Databricks, for example,
Right.
which things will go onto the low-code platform that's currently
Hmm.
under development. So it's and we're really looking into where we can really help out the most. So uh, uh, we're looking obviously also at chatbots to be able to help customers
Right.
24/7 instead of only during business hours. But
Hmm.
also on the operations side, within the application, they can submit a bill
Hmm.
to get their money back, um, and then initially that because there are a lot of different rules, and the bills are not always specified. So there's quite a bit of manual work in there. Not
Mm,
for most, because like
mm.
98% of the declarations are handled fully automatically, because
Right.
there's like a default system that
Yeah.
most will use.
Hmm.
But other bills for non-contracted parties or from outside of the Netherlands,
Yeah.
there's a lot of manual work involved. And like up until 2 months ago, if they would submit a bill, it would get sent over to a human who would
Right.
try to read it and enter it into the system. But sometimes people make a mistake and they send in a holiday picture instead of the
Okay.
actual bill. And then obviously they couldn't read it. And they would eventually get a response like, we couldn't
Yeah.
process
Sure.
your request. But that could take days
Yeah.
because of the manual process in between.
Sure.
So now one of the initial steps that we do is also have a check, like, is it a readable
Yeah.
bill? Is it maybe out of focus? So we can also really
Sure.
help the customer, like, yeah, we know you tried to take a picture, but it's not clear. So
Sure.
please try again. And by doing that way up front in the process, we can get them, we give them feedback in like 4 seconds or something like that.
Yeah.
And
Brilliant.
then they still have the bill at hand, because otherwise they would have put it in a drawer or something like that. And if you then get an email or something like 2 days after,
Of
you're like,
course.
where is that thing? And
Right.
so it's also things like that that we're looking into. And then obviously, if that works well, that's also
Yeah.
why we chose this. We can run it now as a simple filter, but then expand and see what else we can extract automatically, and if it
Yes.
meets our quality standards,
Yes.
and then slowly remove the manual process out of the whole thing.
Absolutely. Yes. 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 And I'm guessing fascinating, and I'm getting a picture of, as a sort of a large dish health insurance company, there are all sorts of workers all making it all happen. And so when you mention like Microsoft 365 Copilot, that I presume is to like help, with the not necessarily programming per se, but with the use of just, the Word documents and the PowerPoints and all this, that, and the other.
Yeah,
And then you've got a number of programmers and data scientists and whatever, and making sure they have GitHub Copilot or something similar. And
yeah,
then, yeah, the Gen AI is kind of, yeah, for chatbots, for kind of removing these things. The sort of core optimization, you've probably got lots of different models, all of this that is going on. But yeah, it's sort of about making sure that one, every individual worker has got the AI support that they need, and then secondarily, okay, now how can we use some of the new AI in order to smooth off, like remove some of the laborious processes from the
yeah.
system. I'm just interested, roughly what's the size of the company in terms of number of people that are in the
About 3,000, if I'm
right 3,000
correct.
people? Yeah, yeah. So that's then as an AI architect, that's a big job to make sure that everybody's getting the right support that they need.
Luckily enough, there are some fairly big chunks that are relatively similar. Like, for example, the people really helping people on the phone.
Yes,
That's one big group that you can just help with one specific set of tools.
right.
So that really helps in thinking about it.
Yeah, no, brilliant, brilliant. Well, and it's interesting, that AI architects. I mean, it's a new, like 10 years ago, people were not called AI architects. So it's
No,
this.
it's still fairly new.
Yes, right. And so that your work obviously is about this. I mean, day to day, for you personally, has the new AI significantly affected how you conduct your daily business in leisure and at work?
Yeah. So for me personally, I've been um, looking into buying a new server so I can do more at home,
Mm.
because I'm a believer in self-hosting my own services.
Mm-hmm.
So also with the large language models, I would prefer to run them locally.
Right.
It's quite a bit of a challenge,
Sure.
but I'm willing to sacrifice inference speed to be able to run it locally. So
Sure.
that makes it a
Sure.
little bit easier.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I'm looking into, and I have a small proof of concept, is that I am subscribed to a couple of RSS feeds,
Mm-hmm.
and it would first, basically for each news item, do a check whether or not it's likely to be interesting for me,
Yes.
using an LLM. And then if it's interesting, make an English summary of it.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's Dutch, I want an
Yes.
English summary,
Yes.
so that I can then use the English text to speech engines to basically generate a podcast just for me. And why English as a Dutch speaking person? It's because
Hmm.
the teach text to speech models that are for
Uh,
Dutch are just horrible
okay.
because we're just too few people to
This,
be
the volume of
very
data
interesting, I
is so much
think.
smaller. Yeah.
So I prefer to listen to the English voices.
Excellent. Yeah.
And at work, I'm obviously also one of the M365 Copilot users.
Mm.
I usually have it running with meetings, so that I can have meeting notes without having to
Hmm.
do a lot of the work myself.
Right.
And I am definitely also, as an architect, we need to document things like which pieces of software we want to use for which use cases.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's also definitely a part of my job where I use it because those descriptions of software packages and what they are intended to do,
Mm.
those can be relatively nicely generated by the models as well. And then obviously you need to check for accuracy, but
Right.
jobs like that, they can do fairly well.
Interesting. Yeah, it's I mean, I haven't really used 365 Copilot. I mean, I was sort of traumatized by that paperclip maybe 20 years ago.
I,
That
I, ima- I can imagine.
But I have, I mean, what I've done, I mean, my company is on Azure, and recently when I'm, dealing with some infrastructure issue, that it will tell me there's a problem, and then it's now got a built-in Copilot thing where it says, "Do you want me to help you solve this?" And on at least two occasions in the last week, I've said, "Yeah, sure, let's see what it does." It's it's given me information that's allowed me to solve the problem in a way that in the past, gosh, I don't go and dig through some documentation, and it's got hyperlinks into it. So like, oh yes, this is in. I mean, the all of these different cloud providers have this menagerie of different sort of things, like there's a service provider, which I know I can't get my head around, but if it provides that, oh yeah, the thing that's blocking you here is click on this link and then go and twist this. I mean,
Yeah.
again, with great power comes great responsibility. But yeah, that's and so for the M36 Copilot, yeah, interesting. If I can reflect back there, so you're having meetings with different software providers and what have you, and so you'll get transcripts of those, and then so for example, you're making a decision to say, okay, yeah, for this, let's say it's the call center team or whatever, we're going to use this thing. Those bringing those notes together and then asking the LLM to say, right, can you go and check the privacy policies on, or whatever it happens to be, and you can pull together that data and then create the sort of a first draft of the report that's going to become
Yeah.
effectively an architectural decision record that we've gone with this. Is that am I summarizing that correctly?
Yeah. And also like we usually create relatively small documents with a summary of what its intended use is for a development team. So they know, like, if you want to build a solution, what kind of solution building blocks, as we call them, are available for use and how to use them as well. If there are certain patterns in use that we can advise, stuff like
Right.
that.
Right. Brilliant. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Well, oh, go on.
and especially also like the M365 Copilot, it's also it's not the the best one, right? I
Mm,
think
mm,
most people know that because if you use ChatGPT, it's ahead of
mm.
Copilot, and also Claude is ahead of Copilot.
Right.
But as a health insurance company, we also really need to be careful with our data,
Yes. Yes.
and that means that definitely software that integrates well with our systems of data leakage prevention, for
Yes.
example, those are just very important. And also knowing where the computation happens and stuff like that. And that sometimes means that you have to choose like maybe not the best option or not the best in type of model, but the best in the complete solution. And that includes data leakage prevention, monitoring, uh, and
Absolutely.
compliance.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. And I also well, I'm just gonna insert kind of like a well, what should have been a basic question on leadership, because we are of course the AI leadership podcast, and you of course are a valued member of the Rebel AI community, which is a lot about AI leadership. Is you're leading a small as AI architect? Are you kind of implicitly leading a team, or you've got people reporting directly to you?
I'm definitely more implicitly leading a team.
Right. No problem at all. But you are, um, you're trying to set a, what's the right word? You're trying, not I was going to say trend, but you're trying to give direction to the
Direction,
organization
yes.
about this is the way that the AI should go. But
Yeah,
do you see yourself? Are you kind of in a? I mean, architects can mean different things in different organizations. Are you in kind of like an advisory role? Do people have to follow the suggestions of the AI architect?
they have to follow the suggestions of the AR architect.
Okay.
It's definitely also something that's evolving,
Yes.
but it's not just a suggestion. It's
Right.
the I'm also a very pragmatic uh,
Uh-huh.
architect. So if there are good reasons why you need to do something else, and
Yes.
you can still do that in a secure, compliant way, that's fine.
Hmm.
And we need to document that well,
Right.
and that can just be an exemption. But that's a possibility. But
Yes.
we have like a happy flow with the supported solution building blocks, and
Right.
maybe sometimes you want to do something that's not supported yet, and that's
Mhm.
fine. Then we'll look into other software
Right. Right.
to make it happen.
Yes. So that, I think if people have to follow your suggestions, that sounds like leadership to me, we shall
Yeah,
say.
yes.
Um,
Yeah, no, and I also really try to look a bit further ahead in what might happen and how we can already uh, position ourselves to make use of that. So
mm,
an example of that is uh, already talking about the model context protocol. I'm
yes.
not sure if everybody is aware, but
Mm,
that seems to become a standard in making your services available to large language models
indeed.
like ChatGPT and Claude.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
and already now thinking about, can we actually make our services available through MCP as well? So
Right.
maybe in the end, and someone in the Netherlands can actually sign up to CZ using Claude, for example,
Right.
or
Right.
find a healthcare provider that has a contract with CZ through Claude, for example.
Yes. Right. Amazing.
Um, and it's something that we need to actively look at right now if we want to make prepare ourselves for that. And as a small thing in between, I think it would actually be useful to look at our APIs and see if we can make them at least accessible. So people would still have to log in some way to
Sure.
make use of certain parts of the backend systems,
Mm,
but that they would have to log in and be able to use it, or maybe some parts can actually be just open to the public. Like, for example, if you want to get a list of healthcare providers, that's
yes.
something we also provide.
Hmm.
There's nothing secret about that. So by really thinking more about making UIs, APIs available basically to other people, not just for your own app developers.
Sure.
You can also encourage innovation.
Hmm.
And I think the added advantage is if you are aware that basically anybody can talk to your API and get and log in using the right credentials and stuff
Yes.
and get access. You also start to think more about security,
Yeah.
rate limiting, and stuff like that, which is actually always useful.
Yes.
And on a similar note, um, I'm not sure if you're aware of the trend of vibe coding,
Oh,
uh,
indeed. Yes.
using text to get applications, or at least proof of
Yeah.
concept for applications. I think it's more
Yeah.
uh, correct at the moment. But even that, if you think that trend might continue,
Yes.
then one of the things that I think you should do definitely as a health insurer is to make sure that you can test the hell out of your applications
Sure.
automatically. So you
Yes.
can test for security that it's correct, that
Yeah.
there's no data leakage and stuff like that. And the
Hmm.
nice thing about that is that you can do that right now,
Mm.
and your current development teams already benefit.
Right.
And the larger you make your tests, and the more you are able to test automatically,
Mm.
the better you're equipped to then, uh, if the technology improves more, to actually
Hmm.
use vibe coding like technologies to actually build your own applications.
Yeah.
But without the testing part, I I don't think that's a good idea.
No, no, agreed. Well, and you're touching on some, these are hot topics that I want to dive more into. I guess I just see I just wanted to jump back to the just in the just to, on the architect role and so on. is there um, a are you like the only AI architect, or is there a sort of like as well as the sort of developers and so on? Is there a kind of like a senior architect and like head of architecture and so on? Is that a sort of a
Yeah,
separate?
so you have a hierarchy that's basically enterprise architect. Then you have
Okay,
business domain architects,
okay,
and that's it for now. But we're looking into adding an extra layer that's closer to the teams.
uh-huh,
As an AI architect, I'm a bit weird that I
okay,
don't fit into that schedule exactly
right,
because I'm not really a business domain architect. And in
no,
some ways, I also have an opinion on the enterprise part.
sure,
But normally, enterprise architects are uh, they don't have a specific territory that they are
right, right,
uh,
right,
responsible for. So it's a bit of a weird hybrid between the two.
yeah,
So
okay,
that just means that I need to talk with all of them to make sure that we're on the same page and get them along.
right. So you're kind of like you're in a there's other enterprise and business architects, and then you're the only AI architect.
I'm the only AI
You're the
architect.
unique,
Yes,
yes,
yes.
fantastic. And right, yeah, wow, what a fascinating position to be in. Um, I definitely want to get into MCP and vibe coding. I'll just pop in this other question that we do is and maybe the answer will be in the what's your most exciting tech hack at the moment? What are you most excited about? In work or in play or what have you? What's the thing that's really getting you going?
Yeah, it's really just playing around with the models and see what you can make them do.
Sure.
And it's also I try to be curious about a lot of things. So I also got an account for Manus uh, AI
Right.
to see what that can do. To be honest, I haven't tried it yet, but um, it's just see what's out there, play with it. Sometimes I play with it on my personal device instead of my corporate
Sure.
device, just to make sure. Definitely with
Yeah, yeah,
Manus, I'm like, nah, maybe not
yeah.
get them onto our network, right?
Yes, yes.
Just to be sure. Um, but it's stuff like that. Be curious and see what you can do. And for some reason, I would still really encourage people at this point in time to program as well, because a
Yes,
lot of things are also available as an API. And quite often, the magic is in the combination of different technologies.
yes,
And either you have to wait until somebody else has built it, or you
yes.
can build it yourself. And if you can program, definitely if you can program a little bit with Python, quite often
Yeah.
you can then combine things that are not yet combined and just get some really cool stuff going.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. I mean, I've been hearing about Manus too, integrated with Replit. I haven't yet get to try it. But yeah, it's interesting what you say about, still learn to program. I mean, vibe coding is, all the talk of the town. I mean, not that I really follow the news, but some of it leaks out through the people that I know. I mean, um, as I was saying last week to Daniel, yeah, I'm really into cursor IDE at the moment. And there's definitely aspects of what I'm doing now, both at work and play, which have a vibe side to it. I mean, I'm an experienced programmer, but just through the course of this morning, doing various meetings and then coming to speak to yourself, I've had, Cursor IDE in its auto mode where I actually slightly annoyingly don't know which um, LLM it's talking to. So I don't know who I'm using it under the hood. There's probably some way to find out. But I had it basically, we're just introducing a new workflow in our organization. And, I had it, so this is during the course of the week basically do a data analysis piece on data that I over time have compiled and created a whole Streamlit dashboard and I went through several rounds of giving it feedback. I'm not really review this is it's just in a kind of like a sandbox area. I'm not really reviewing the code line by line, but I am reviewing the output and I'm kind of doing almost the kind of thing that I might do with a person who was doing like a junior or mid-level developer who was doing a spike and saying, okay, but sort of drawing it back to no, well, the database has this thing in, so you've kind of clearly gone in the wrong direction. So I'm giving it some guidance beyond what a pure vibe coder would be doing. And we've got what seems like useful first pass information out of it that we're currently driving how another team is working. And then just this morning it was like, okay, I've been copying the recommendations from into a DevOps into a like one of these Kanban boards. Um, another person on my team had hooked up one of those boards to do it automatically, and I just said, "Oh, can you use this code that does this and give me a button so that I can just." It's done that, and it worked. Now I'll review the code in some more detail, but it's on the vanilla level. It's just done what I could have spent the day probably, back in the day, getting this all set up and this, that, and the other. It does. I mean, it's a bit like the Ring of Power, really. It's very, very tempting to put it on.
Yes.
I can see, and I've had instances during the course of the last 2 weeks where I've got too far extended. And yeah, if I didn't know what I was doing as a programmer, I would get myself into all sorts of trouble. But yeah, how are you feeling about? I mean, you're saying you're not doing any coding most of the time now. I mean, are
Yeah.
you? Yeah, how do you feel about the vibe? Are you feeling it?
Personally, I'm not really feeling it,
No, okay.
although I do want to give it a try,
Yeah,
because I can see that the various pieces are just there, right?
right, right.
And especially if you have the more specific tooling, like I think it's bolt.new or something like that, that really only creates web application with certain frameworks, so they can
Okay.
be way more targeted in what can be generated and stuff.
Mm.
Um, I can see that would work at least for proof of concepts. So
Okay.
where you can have something to play around with before you start to build it for real.
Yes.
Um, I can see, at least for now, that it's also really easy to get something generated that's not secure enough.
Oh,
So
completely.
that's also why I think if you would be able to combine that with a decent testing framework where you would
Yeah.
test everything that you really care about,
Yes.
I think that could really allow you to then really start vibe coding, because then you have your safeguards around you to
Yes.
make sure that you can basically not do anything stupid. And I
Absolutely.
think that's the most important thing, definitely in an insurance company, is not be able to do anything stupid.
Indeed. Yeah, yeah. Well, and I mean, one of the things I'm trying to do in our organization is, I mean, people are using different things, like they're using Cursor IDE, or they're using Copilot, or they're using standalone, LLM apps. And I'm trying to get our kind of coding and testing guidelines into everybody's kind of meta rules for all of the
Yeah,
systems that they're using, so that we are generating consistent codes and so on. I mean, yeah, I mean, the MCP that you mentioned, this Model Context Protocol, is very, which I think was created by Anthropic and
yeah,
has been adopted now more widely. And I've been seeing as I use, I mean, I quite like the ChatGPT standalone client for the desktop for a number of things. And I've been seeing as I use it, it's kind of, I think it's detecting other MCP servers on my system, and it's offering me the option to receive information from them. Have you done much with MCP yourself so far?
no, not yet. So I've been mostly looking into the more technical details and the possibilities with that. Um, uh, for now, also definitely at work. The difficulty there is more that if we use Claude or OpenAI, is most of their servers are still in the US,
In the
which
US,
really
yeah.
limits the amount of data or the type of data that we can share
Sure,
there.
sure,
And also getting contracts with stuff like that going is relatively tricky.
sure.
But on a personal level, I've been more toying around with my RSS to podcast thingy.
Right. And well, maybe let's go into that briefly. Is so you described that before, it's pulling these. Is that when you're putting that together, are you doing that from, like, as one person I was doing a blog post, is swearing by using just Claude with MCP and just operating for, I think probably from the browser, but having it interact with the system, or are you in an editor? How are you assembling that?
Yeah, in this case, I started out really just hand coding it, old school.
Oh, old school. Yeah, go on.
Yeah. But I also limit myself that I really want to use my locally running models
Right,
for
right.
for the analysis, whether or not it's interesting, and also
Yeah.
in the text to speech generation. I also am a quite die-hard open source nerd, so I
Hmm.
really try
Hmm.
to stick with open source tooling
Sure.
that I can play around with and host myself.
Yes.
Um, and currently, I'm limited by my hardware. That's why I'm looking into buying a new server.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Indeed.
definitely, if you want it beefy enough for large language models, the price point is just a bit annoying.
Yeah. 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 It's well, of course. Well, we'll come on to the future thing. It's interesting you mentioned that. I mean, that's it. I, I was, let's say, partly hand coding. Like, I think this was last year. I kind of like was sort of streamlining one of my own processes related to for work, and I was like, oh, I haven't got enough hands. Can I get a voice activated version and so on? And I at that time I think I was still using like Chat GPT standalone and saying if I want to do text to speech, what have you, in Python, what do I use? And so it would tell me and give me some boilerplate code that I would take and then, I was seeing it, last year, accelerating the process of me adopting a particular open source tool. But so when you say hand coding, you're still just doing it all yourself. And when you're like, okay, how will I use this text to speech library? You're searching on Stack Overflow, or are you getting advice from the LLM as you're putting
Yeah,
it together?
that I sometimes do indeed. Just
Right,
use it as like a well as an alternative to Stack Overflow,
right.
but not really. And that's also because I haven't had time to get it set up right. Because I'm also looking into I think it's called Klein,
Yes, yes,
um,
VS
and
Code,
then setting it up with my locally
local
hosted
one.
model. And just making that all work nicely is a bit more pain.
Right, right. And when you say you use it a little bit for like as an alternative to Stack Overflow, that's you're using your locally hosted model, or you're using like just the vanilla Chat GPT interface.
Then I always try the local one first, and
First.
sometimes I'm a bit disappointed, and then
Okay, right,
I
got you.
use something else.
Yes, yes, interesting, interesting, good stuff. Yeah, I mean, I'll have to follow up with you about what that bolt.new thing is, but yes, but so we've been touching on it all sorts of different sorts of ways. Like, how do you see the future playing out over now? I mean, the next year clearly MCP and vibe coding going to be big things. Going further ahead, what are you seeing coming up?
Yeah, to be honest, I have no clue. It's one of the jokes that I always make with internally with the other architects, because
Yes,
most architects are expected to look like a year or three ahead.
right,
I'm just saying, hey, I'm lucky enough. I call myself lucky if I can predict what's going to happen in 6 months or something.
right, right,
It's
right.
it's crazy.
It is moving very
Uh,
fast, isn't it?
yeah, it's moving very quickly, and it's also sometimes I can be both amazed by what the models can do and
Mm,
also by what they cannot do.
mm,
Sometimes at the same time, right? That's definitely interesting. It's also good, or at least for my open source, even though most open models are not really truly open source, but that's a
mm,
whole different topic. But at least it's good to see that also OpenAI starts sharing model weights again.
mm,
Um,
mm,
but things are developing very quickly. What I do expect is that the whole integration part becomes now more and more important, because the
mm,
models are already quite powerful.
mhm, mhm,
It's really how you apply the models and get them into your systems, integrated into your systems, that's becoming more and more difficult. And that's also where the challenge with a company like CZ is more located. Is we cannot just jump into one of the new startups
mhm, mhm.
that's like 3 months old in Silicon
Sure.
Valley,
No,
because that's just too big of a risk to
sure.
take as a company like CZ. So that's also a challenge to then see what will actually work, and who's then going to deliver it in a way that's suitable for CZ itself.
Mhm,
Because also, for example, MCP in itself was already quite interesting, but
mm,
not for us yet, because
mm,
when it was just an Anthropic thing,
mm,
Claude is already not that big, because it's quite big, especially with programmers, because it's really good at programming. But
mm,
within the
mm,
wider community or wider context,
mhm.
OpenAI still rules, right?
Right.
Um, so it was really interesting to see that OpenAI also picked up on
Very
it,
much so. Yeah.
and then it starts making sense also for us to look a little bit more into it. Uh,
Yeah, well, it
so
becomes a standard, yes.
and obviously the whole agent stuff can be
Mm,
really interesting. Um, then again, that will also be interesting to then see if you have a lot of agents and then
mm,
an agent using agents.
hmm.
How can you then still be in control of what can actually happen?
Absolutely.
Because if you're not careful, you end up with a big mess of all kinds of possibilities that you're just not aware of anymore.
Yeah, or indeed, a group of super sentient AIs enslaving the human race. It can all go horribly wrong.
Yeah, let's hope. Let's hope not.
Yeah.
Let's-
Well, I mean, I was, well, sorry, several thoughts have collided in my brain at the same time. The people who talk about the AI doomers who worry about that, they talk about, these, aligning these super sentient AIs. I mean, one might ask about the question of how are we aligning our governments and other large organizations to do what we want and not subjugate humanity. So it's
yeah,
yeah, I think the agent thing. I mean, what I'm seeing in using Cursor is like what and where I think it has a bit of an edge over, say, for example, if I'm just using ChatGPT desktop client with its MCP protocols, is Cursor. They've got. I'm not saying it's perfect, but they've got some sense in which it can sort of like proactively search through the code base. Like it's not as good as I'd like it to be, and I have to kind of like I sort of seem to have to kind of push it sometimes, but like if I get it just right, it will kind of go and look through the code base because it's done like a rag of the code base, and it will find the things that it need to know. It will find the pieces of context in order to come up with an approach, which is really interesting. And I can only imagine that. I mean, some people talk about it having deteriorated recently. In the longer term, like 2, 3, 4 years, I'm sure the ability with which the user experience and the actual, the sort of seeking for context will get better. I can't imagine. It's there's such value to be derived if it can work well. But yeah, but the agent thing, and I guess because I mean I was doing stuff in autonomous agents 20 years ago, and it's like the term has reemerged. But I guess there are people, and you're probably following this more than I am, now saying let's have rather than asking an employee to let's say process this spreadsheet and send an email some people that there be this idea that now, right, you just say, okay, send out, agents, could you go off, gather the information from the intranet and do like effectively a cascade of actions so that you
yeah,
effectively have these kind of AI employees running around for you. That's what people are envisaging.
that's definitely what people are envisioning, right? Is that
Yeah.
you can have specific agents for specific tasks, and then another agent that's really more like a routing agent,
Right,
figuring
right.
out which one to ask to do what part of the job.
Yeah.
And I think that can work definitely with some smaller cases. I don't see why not. Um, but it's good to also think about how we can then still be in control
Well,
of
absolutely.
the things that can actually happen, and how to make sure that then the things that you don't want to happen cannot happen.
Absolutely. I mean, for all these different things, I mean, when we talk about M365 Copilot and all these different Databricks and so on, none of these are really offering yet a kind of generic AI agent yet, or it's still being sort of talked about as possible in principle rather than anybody's offering a kind of enterprise, here's
Yeah,
your employee agent yet. Then it's
no,
just,
not yet. So within Databricks, I've seen some nice functionality where you can basically, um, if you document a Python function, for example,
mm,
nicely, you can then make that available to a model,
hmm
and then the model can basically choose to run a function, yes
hmm
or no.
right.
Um, and that
Kind of tool
includes
use. Yeah.
with certain parameters that it can choose from and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, well, those building blocks could work towards a more agentic future because, for example, if we look at a chatbot for our customers, is they might want to have some more information about a payment that was done or not
Mm-hmm.
done. Um, or they might have a question about just the terms and conditions.
Yes.
And if you can then have specific agents to, I don't know, get some data out of the backend system, like
Right.
I don't know, from the payment system or the
Yes.
creation system, the reimbursement system, stuff like that. Um, then having like all those various agents and then one chat interface for the end user to just ask questions and that the agents would get the right information from the backend systems
Yes.
to combine into an answer. That
Yes.
would also really make the integration part easier because
Yes.
that's most of the times where it gets tricky. It's how to make systems talk to each other.
Yes.
And
Yes.
even within one company, you sometimes have that there are slight differences between naming things and stuff like that. And if you trust language models enough, then they might be able to do those translations between slightly different
Yeah.
named entities
Indeed.
for you,
Yes.
um, and that can really help.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we would also really need to test and verify that they are making the right combinations.
Yeah. It seems to be. I think the particularly difficult thing, as we were talking about last week with Daniel with LLMs, is that they don't seem to be able to provide consistency. And so you could test your system many, many, many times. I mean, you can have safeguards on all of the
Yeah,
queries that it's allowed to make to your different backend systems, but the way in which it then synthesizes that data and what it actually presents to the end user through a chat system is something that's very difficult to completely lock down, isn't
yeah.
it? Yeah.
Although we're also so at the moment we're also already generating answers, but not showing them to the user yet. So
Yes.
we're doing it in the background to
Right.
then evaluate it with real people to see if we would have shown this to the user,
Right.
would it be a problem? Yes or no? Um, at the same time, we're also looking into LLM judges
Oh yeah.
to see if we can uh, use those in a similar way, whether or not they would also classify the answers that we generate in the same way as
Yes.
our humans do,
Yeah.
because then we could use an LLM judge to
Mm-hmm.
judge
Mm-hmm.
the response of another
Yeah,
LLM.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Um,
And
and
then
that's tricky, but
LLMs all the way down. Yeah.
yes,
Fantastic. Yeah, it's well, let's move towards wrapping. There's been a fascinating conversation. We could go on talking, but we both got other things to do, I'm sure.
yes.
As our sort of final question, I mean, AI moving so fast, difficult to predict what's happening. What does it all mean? Not just AI, but life, the universe, and everything have we talked about? I mean, is it
Well,
is
the
it
answer is 42, obviously.
the
That's
answer is
the
42. From your point of view, what's the question?
ooh, what's the question? Well, that's the question. What is the actual question? That's
Ah, uh-huh.
that's that's the right question to always ask, basically.
Right.
Is
Brilliant.
really think a little bit deeper before you assume what the question is, uh, because I've I've made the same mistake as well. Is thinking you know what the question is and then thinking ahead of a solution and then figuring out like they actually needed something slightly different
Right.
to be really useful.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Well, that's a wonderful capstone on the podcast. Thanks so much again for your time. Is there anything that we can promote of yours to people if you've got a blog or on social media? Where would people find out more about you?
I actually do have some blog, but the last post is I don't know ages ago.
Sure.
I'm on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I stopped using Twitter when it wasn't Twitter anymore, so
Yes.
I still keep calling it Twitter.
Yeah. Yes.
And for the rest, I know too much about data analytics to actually be on social media, I guess. So I try to limit that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yes, well, we'll get your LinkedIn link in the show notes. Let's just we'll wrap this up. Thanks everyone
Yeah,
for listening, and this wraps up this episode of AI Leadership. If you'd like to be on the podcast or join the Rebel AI community, please don't hesitate to reach out to me, Sam Joseph at sam@neurogrid.com, and we'll see you all again soon. Last word, I should say thanks once again to our guest today, Willem Ligtenberg.